Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you today. Rising property taxes fuel the affordability crisis that's pinching homeowners across our entire country. And Montana homeowners need and deserve relief. As you've heard me say, property taxes are too high and must be reined in. Local taxing jurisdictions, counties, and municipalities are the drivers of property taxes. Some are fiscally responsible, limiting their spending to fund essential services and keeping their property taxes as low as possible. Other jurisdictions are not, spending more than needed on questionable projects and continually raising property taxes as a result. So let's be clear about this. Local taxing jurisdictions drive property taxes. The state's role is limited, but there are measures the state can take to reduce the burden of property taxes on Montana's homeowners and renters. What we can do is reduce the increasing impact of property taxes on Montana homeowners and renters. We recognize the need for reform to our property tax system. We also recognized that this is a very complex issue that deserved a thorough and thoughtful approach. That's why more than a year ago I formed a diverse, bipartisan property tax task force. We charged them to recommend innovative solution the legislature could consider. I appreciate all the folks who participated on this task force. Since I was in the Flathead yesterday, I wanted to highlight a few of the members by name. Flathead County Commissioner Pam Holmquist, Senator Greg Hertz, and Senator Dave Fern. Those folks joined other local leaders, state agency leaders, association representatives, researchers, stakeholders, and advocates for reform. Each brought an important voice to the task force, strong expertise, and a unique perspective. I appreciate the breadth of input each brought to the task force. While they proposed 12 solutions in total, they were all good ideas. One really stood out to me, and that's the homestead rate cut. A tax cut for Montanans in their primary home, the place that they call home. The concept is simple. If you're a homeowner who lives in your home, you should get a property tax cut. If you're a renter who lives in a long-term rental, property taxes should be lower for where you live, and your rent should reflect that lower tax. If you're a homeowner who doesn't live in your home, you should bear a burden for funding local law enforcement, roads and bridges, and schools. The homestead rate cut is about making life more affordable for Montana families, including those on fixed incomes. While there's a lot of ideas out there, the homestead rate cut is the best approach for delivering relief to Montanans this year. The homestead rate cut is projected to provide permanent direct property tax relief to 215,000 Montana homeowners, 32,000 small businesses. It's also projected to provide indirect relief to over 130,000 renters in Montana. Estimates show the average homeowner will see a 15% property tax cut, and an average small business owner will see an 18% reduction. Now, you've heard me talk about this before. It's not the first time. I spoke about it when the task force provided its recommendations last August. In the rollout of our budget, the Path to Security and Prosperity in November, in the State of the State in January, and over the last 6 months at various events. During the State of the State, I called on the legislatures to deliver meaningful property tax relief for Montanans for their primary home. I called on them to get it done early in this session. I called on them to get it done so homeowners can see permanent, meaningful relief this year. Now, as the bills move through the legislature, I know there are folks prowling the halls here in the Capitol. They're trying to get carve-outs for their clients in property tax relief, whether it's out-of-state interests or corporate interests or folks who own multiple homes. But if we start providing carve-outs to these special interests, Montanans who own and live in their home will see less relief. I believe our focus must be on Montana homeowners, not special interests. Let me share a story with you of why this is so important. Yesterday, I met with seniors and homeowners in Kalispell to hear about property taxes. Several of them were on fixed income. They told me how rising property taxes are straining their budgets. They told me how property tax assistance programs have helped them. They told me how rebates were helpful in 2023 and 2024, but they told me that kind of temporary relief cannot replace the kind of permanent relief they need this year. We must deliver permanent property tax relief for them this year. Let me tell you about someone I met yesterday, Sandy Barnett. Sandy is a retired lunch lady, wife of a U.S. Navy veteran, mother, and a grandmother. Sandy and her husband, Rob, have lived in their Montana home for 30 years. Yesterday, during the roundtable, she told me about the increase in her property taxes over the last several years, and about how she's concerned her kids will have to move away because they can't afford to buy a home in the valley. Another gentleman, a longtime Montana resident and retired teacher, shared that rising property taxes on his home have made his mortgage payment amount to nearly half of his monthly budget. And he's on fixed income. And at the discussion, we also had a young Montanan at the table, Rebecca, a woman who bought her first home just 3 years ago. She highlighted how the rising cost of groceries, property taxes, and the price of homes have skyrocketed and are still growing. And she shared her concern for her community feeling the effects of this nationwide affordability crisis. These are the people who sent us to Helena to get it done, and we should. In my State of the State, I asked the legislature to pass the homestead rate cut by the middle of February. Now, I always knew that would be a somewhat ambitious timeline, but the Department of Revenue needs some time to implement this rate cut for Montanans so it takes effect this year in 2025. Thankfully, we're making progress. The homestead rate cut is making its way through the House now. Less than 2 weeks ago, it cleared the House Tax Committee. Last week, it cleared the House for the first time on a broad bipartisan vote. And this week, they held discussion on the bill in House Appropriations Committee, and we're hopeful to see executive action will be taken this week, which would send it over to the Senate. And I want to thank all of the legislators who recognize the importance of getting this done for Montanans. We must continue to boldly address the problems facing hardworking Montanans, the problems facing Sandy and Rob Barnett, the problems facing Montana seniors who are on fixed income, and those who may have just bought their first home, and all Montanans just trying to make ends meet. We must keep folks like them in the forefront of our mind, not Californians who happen to drop in here a couple times a year to ski near their second home, but the Montanans who elected us to deliver meaningful relief this year. I'm confident that by working together, we can get it done. And with that, I'd be happy to open it up for questions. I would remind folks, please, for the benefit of everybody listening on the Facebook Live, please state your name and your news outlet. Who would like to go first? Shaylee.
Shaylee Rager, Montana Public Radio. I know 231 passed Housing Second Reading. House also begins HB 155, Representative Thane's bill, which is somewhat similar but different to the homestead exemption. I'm curious if you have thoughts, if the legislature decides to advance that one instead. Do you have concerns about that bill? Are there pieces of it you like that could be worked into 231? Where do you see that?
Yeah, so we'll look at the bills as they get to us. I haven't gotten either one of the bills yet, but I think the homestead rate cut is really the way to go. So we're looking forward to getting that out of the House and through the Senate. Yes?
Blair Miller with Lee Newspapers. Yesterday, well, I guess today, there's 4 MEPA bills that are poised to pass either the House or Senate. I know obviously you like to look at all the bills as they reach your desk, but is there anything, that you've been looking at since the Hill decision came down in December that's a must-have in those kind of bills?
Yes, the question is really about these 4 MEPA bills. I think there's 3 in the House, 1 in the Senate. Where do we stand on those? Because of the Hill decision, the court clearly said we need more clarity so that DEQ can do their job. There's been some heavy lifting. I complimented majority leadership in our meeting this week on the work they've done on those bills. I'm looking forward to getting it to my desk. It was a collaborative effort by state agencies as well as the legislature. And I think those bills will give us the clarity. In the end, I have to make my decision when I see the final text, but we're supportive of them. Yeah, Jonathan.
Jonathan Andarian from the Montana Television Network. Governor, you have previously told us that you're open to renewing the Medicaid expansion program, but you want some work done on the work requirements and things like that. But at the moment, the bill that seems to be moving through is more or less a clean removal of the sunset date. Is that something that you're open to if that indeed reaches your desk?
Yeah, so thank you, Jonathan. Questions about Medicaid expansion renewal. We've put it in our budget. The current language in the bill includes work requirements. We have not been able to implement them because of the administration in Washington. We need a waiver from the feds to actually do that. So again, we'll look at the final bill. It's a safety net we need to have, but we also have to make sure the people that get in the safety net doesn't cause the safety net to collapse under its weight. So we believe that able-bodied adults should be working or looking for work if they're going to be on the program. Yes?
Yeah, Zeke Lloyd, Montana Free Press. So we saw Lieutenant Governor testify in support of House Bill 121 repeatedly. If you sign it into law, how will you direct state agencies to verify a person's chromosomes and reproductive biology if someone makes a complaint about improper public bathroom use?
Well, I was pretty clear in the state of the state. I think men should stay out of women's bathrooms. I think that's common sense. It's kind of funny you'd even ask the question because for so long it was never really hard for us to know who was a boy and who was a girl. I think we can go back to common sense. It'll be pretty easy to figure out. Yes, Shaylee.
I guess I'd like to follow up on that. Do you have suggestions for how local governments, they're going to be on the hook for liability on this? Have you talked with local leaders about how they should enforce that bill? 121.
Well, I mean, with any bill, there's a process to get it implemented, but there's a number of accommodations that could be done, by local municipalities. There's a lot, again, common sense can prevail here, but I think the bottom line is we don't want men in women's bathrooms.
When you say accommodations, is that like another bathroom or adding?
I mean, many facilities don't even have 2 bathrooms. They have a unisex bathroom that's private, and that solves the problem. So there's things people can do. Other questions?
Paul Green announced his departure from the Department of Commerce this morning. Anything you wish to say about that?
Yeah, Director Green did a great job at Department of Commerce. In his resignation to me, he expressed a desire to spend time with family. He had some obligations there he needed to take care of. I've appointed Mandy Rambo as acting. She and the team at Commerce have been doing a great job. You've seen her in testimony at a number of bill hearings. So I'm confident we won't miss a step as we go forward. Yeah.
Just to follow up on that, the previous director left amid kind of a cloud of suspicions with spending. I'm curious if there's anything similar in the Paul Green situation.
I am really, Paul Green did a great job at Commerce. I was disappointed to see him leave, but he made the decision to spend more time with family, and that's the whole deal. Jonathan?
Yes, Jonathan and Barry, and again, it's my understanding that it's not maybe been introduced yet, but that Representative Oplander and Representative France are going to propose a local option sales tax to be potentially put before a county voter as a way to address property taxes on the local level. And I was curious, obviously you haven't seen the bill yet, but I was curious if you had any broad feelings on that as an idea at this point.
Well, certain municipalities have local option taxes. There have been proposals over the years. I think it's just another form of sales tax, which Montanans have said very clearly they don't want. So it's not going to be, we'll have to see the final bill. I'll consider anything I get. But as Grover Norquist said, implementing a new tax is like swallowing a tapeworm. And I'm not sure that's what we're going to do. Do we have any online questions? Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, there's a number of fire-related pieces of legislation from Representative Jones and others, and they look to have a lot of support. I'm curious if you could comment on some of the different strategies from encouraging volunteer firefighters to offering tax benefits for first responders who are injured in the line of duty, to even insurance rebates, legalizing that for homeowners who install defensive infrastructure. What are you excited about, and what can we expect to see maybe come across your desk that you're ready to, that you would expect to have change?
Yeah, questions really about all the firefighter bills. I was with the firefighters in Whitefish yesterday, and we had some firefighters from Big Fork. They actually went down and helped California fight the fires. Firefighters are heroes in our communities. We rely on them. They show up on our worst day. We need to do what we can to make sure that they are properly compensated, that the risks associated with the work that they do are taken care of. So I'll look forward to seeing those bills when they get to my desk. Yes, Shaylee.
Another question on property taxes. So I'm wondering, I think some lawmakers would like to maybe see like a companion bill to 231. So Democrats would like to see the circuit breaker bill, which I know you talked about last week, as not wanting to backfill property taxes with income tax. But I'm thinking too about Senator Glimm's bill, SB 90, to reroute some bed tax revenue. Do you have thoughts on that bill?
The bright line for me is I don't think we should be using general fund money to subsidize local spending. My understanding is that's what that bill did. So I've been pretty clear that that's a line we don't want to cross. Now I'll consider any proposal that gets to my desk, but we're not really open to taking the tax we have on work and subsidizing local spending with it. Yeah, one more question. Well, hearing none, thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you.